Hello my dear students, welcome to Vignan's Foundation for Science, Technology and Research deemed to be University. I, Dr. Envt Srivani, Associate Professor from the Department of Sciences and Humanities, present here to discuss the remaining topics in ecosystem. Let me discuss types of ecosystems. There are two types of ecosystems. First one, terrestrial ecosystem, and the other one, aquatic ecosystem. What do you understand by the term terrestrial? If land is a habitat, then we can say terrestrial. So what examples can you give for terrestrial ecosystems here? Grassland, desert, forest ecosystems. These are there in your syllabus. Aquatic ecosystems means ecosystems in water. Can you give examples? Ponds, lakes, river, ocean, sea, all these comes under aquatic ecosystems. Now, I am going to discuss aquatic ecosystems, pond and lake ecosystem, ocean or sea ecosystem. Lake and pond ecosystem, you can see some of the characteristic features of lake or pond. The explanation is same for both lake and pond. There is a little difference. I will tell you the difference. If they ask you write separately lake ecosystem and pond ecosystem. Sometimes they may even ask to write comparison between pond and the lake ecosystems, right? Now you can see the size. Range in size from just a few square meters to thousands of square kilometers. The ponds may be seasonal. Seasonal means they stay only for 6 months. After 6 months they get dried when compared to lakes. But the lakes are permanent. When compared to these ponds, you can see they are even larger. They exist for hundreds of years or more. Lakes. Let me tell you the temperature in both lake and the pond. See the temperature in summer season. The temperature is 4 degrees centigrade near the bottom, and on the surface the temperature is 22 degrees centigrade. Coming to the winter season, the temperature is 4 degrees centigrade in the bottom. On the surface, the temperature becomes 0. Now, these ponds and lake ecosystems are divided into 3 zones based on the depth and distance. What are the 3 zones? The first one is littoral zone, second one limnatic zone, and the third one is profundal zone. Let me tell you some differences between this pond and the lake. Listen carefully. In ponds, the littoral zone is large. Limnatic zone may be present in pond. Profundal zone is absent in ponds. Coming to the lakes, the littoral zone is very small in lakes and the limnatic and profundal zones are very large. That is the difference. Clear? You can see this picture, all of you. This is the water body. Now I will show the different zones in this ecosystem. You can see here, all of you, this part, this is called littoral zone. This part you are seeing. From littoral zone, this is, you can see here, this is the limnatic zone, this part here, this is the limnatic zone. After littoral zone. See this limnatic zone, it extends till here. You can see the color. This is littoral zone and limnatic zone, it extends till here. This littoral zone and the limnatic zone receives light penetration, sunlight. Sunlight penetrates up to this extent. Okay, next you can see this part here which is dark blue in color. This is known as profundal zone. It won't receive sunlight. Slowly the sunlight penetration decreases if you go deep into the lake. And this zone you can see, this is called benthic zone. Benthic zone which is present at the bottom of the water, maybe in sea or pond or lake, whatever it may be. We call the organisms in the benthic zone as benthos. Next, See these two zones, aphotic zone and photic zone. These are classified based on the sunlight penetration. Up to certain extent you can see this extent there is light penetration, which we call it as euphotic zone actually. Okay, next here there is no light penetration. Slowly the light penetration decreases and this is called aphotic zone. Based on the depth and the distance, littoral, lemnitic and profundal zone. Based on the light penetration, photic zone and aphotic zone. Clear? Let me discuss about littoral zone. It is warm. Littoral zone is present on the surface, right? So it is little bit warm. It is shallow. Littoral zone is shallow and it can absorb the sunlight. That means sunlight penetration is there in the littoral zone and also to some extent to lemnitic zone. Sustains a fairly diverse community. See what are the species present in this particular zone. There are several species of algae. I told you very clearly many times about algae, diatoms, rooted and floating aquatic plants, snails, insects, crustaceans means small shell organisms. You can give example prawn, fishes, amphibians. You can give 2 or 3 examples. Next, these are also present like eggs and larval stages of some insects are found in this zone. Vegetation and animals living in the littoral zone are food for other creatures such as turtles, snakes and ducks. Whatever the vegetation is present and whatever the animals present in the surface region, they are the food for number of the living organisms present in the water. Now, the second one is lemnitic zone. You can see near surface open water surrounded by the littoral zone it is present. That means you write after littoral zone, lemnitic zone is present. Well lighted like the littoral zone, it is dominated by planktons. I told you free floating organisms, phytoplanktons and zooplanktons. Both zooplankton and phytoplankton are present. Profundal zone, it is cold and it is dense. Let us see what are the organisms present in this profundal zone. I told you light penetration is absent, not even little light penetration is absent if you go deep. Okay? Planktons have short lifespans. When they die, they fall into the deep water part of the lake or the pond. See these planktons after their food, death, they settle to the bottom. And this becomes food for number of the living organisms which are present in the water. You give examples, decomposers. What is benthic zone? I told you very clearly. Bottom zone. The organisms which are present at the bottom of the water are called benthic forms or benthos. See the area of the bottom. Many groups and varieties of animals live here. A few are some worms, small crustaceans, shell organisms. You can give, I told you, some plants example. Shell organisms you can give examples and protozoa. The life in this zone is mostly made up of the bottom dwellers, which get most of their food from the dead and decaying materials. What are the dead and decaying materials are there? These become food for these organisms which are present at the bottom. Most of the organisms live in the benthic zone or scavengers, because what is a scavenger? Which eats the dead material becomes scavenger. Some pictures I will show you, you can see. I told you already, I discussed this lake ecosystem. It is larger, lakes are larger when compared to ponds. They may exist hundreds of years. This already I told you. Let me discuss some communities what are present in the lake. After these communities I will show you the picture. Okay, let me explain. So you see here the different types of organisms which are present in the water body. See, this is littoral zone. You can see very clearly here. See, all of you see littoral zone. So this is the littoral zone. You can see what are these plants are present in this littoral zone. You can see here. See, these are known as macrophytes. Some examples, plants, okay, free floating or rooted plants which are present in the water body. And salmon. So this is nothing but group of organisms inhabiting the coastal and the sand moist biota. So don't go in detail about these. Okay. So next you can see new stone. What is meant by new stone? They will ask you in exam. New stone means the organisms which takes rest on the surface or swims on the surface. Okay. See, you can see this organism just like insect, water strider, flying fish, examples of new stones. What are these nectons? You can see here. Fast swimming organisms. Fast swimming organisms are called nectons. Example, all fishes you can give. Periphytons, you can see. There are some organisms which are attached to the substratum and hangs. Such type of organisms are known as periphytons. See, these are zooplanktons, phytoplanktons. I already told you what are these. Free floating masses of plants and free floating organisms in the water, right? Now you can see this is lemnitic zone. So you can see here this depth. If you go deep, okay, if you go deep, very deep, profundal zone. And you can see here very clearly benthos, benthic forms which are present at the bottom of the water. Understood? These are the freshwater biological communities of lakes. This is an example. Blue Lake. See, Lake Pavin in France. See how beautiful it is. This is pond, Cypress Pond in Alabama. Some pictures. These are the animals in lakes and ponds. No need to write its name. Actually, just you write frogs are present. Okay, cranes are present. 2 or 3 examples for communities. You can see here. Okay, common carp. Next, green and gold bell frog. You can simply write frogs. Okay, you can simply write fishes, pelican, lake trout, type of the fish, platypus. Okay, soft shell, jambesi. These are some of the communities which are present in the lake. Now, ocean and sea ecosystem. I already completed pond and lake ecosystem. After explaining the characteristic features, different zones in the pond and the lake, you have to write biotic and abiotic components. I told you, for every ecosystem, after some explanation, you have to explain biotic and abiotic components. Please don't forget that. Now, this is another one, that is ocean and sea ecosystem. See, explanation is same for both ocean and sea ecosystem. Same explanation. Ocean, let me discuss some points regarding this ocean and sea. If you identify the shape, all of you write down, the shape of this ocean or sea is vast basin or inverted hat-like structure. So, like this, it is inverted hat. You can see here, like this it will be. It is a wash basin or inverted hat-like structure. You can just put like this, Ocean or the sea ecosystem. Average depth, write down 4,000 meters. Average depth 4,000 meters. Less number of species are present when compared to land, but diversity is more. Temperature on the surface, it is 28 degrees centigrade temperature. If you go to bottom, the temperature is 3 or 4 degrees centigrade. Now, let me tell the different zones in the ocean or sea ecosystem. Generally, it is classified into 2 zones. See, let me tell you now. See, coming to this ocean or sea, classified into two zones. First one, coastal zone. Second one, open sea zone. Coastal zone means shallow water zone. Open sea, deep water zone. Right? Coastal zone is present before the continental slope. For example, it is the ocean, for example. For example, you can see it is the ocean. Is it visible? Okay, you can see this ocean. Let me turn this side. Okay, you can see this ocean. This is first zone, intertidal zone. This intertidal zone, after intertidal zone, there will be small zone here. After this, you can see slope, which is known as continental slope. Okay, so that's why I told you, before the continental slope, it is coastal zone. After the continental slope, it is open sea zone. That's all. Now, let me discuss the different zones here. I already told you this part, it is a shallow water zone. You can see this part, it is a shallow water zone. So, this part is open sea zone, it is very large, you can see. Now, the different zones based on some physical parameters, it is classified into different zones. You can see here, the first zone you are seeing here. It is called intertidal zone. We can also call it as littoral zone. Here, high tides and low tides are common in this particular place. Whatever communities are present, they are not constant. Because sometimes the area gets filled with water, sometimes there is no water. That's why the community is not constant in the intertidal zone. All favorable conditions are there, it is rich in organisms. Next one, after the intertidal zone, you can see here, this is a small part, you can see this zone, this is called neritic zone. This is the smallest zone of ocean, neritic zone. Here also, the favorable conditions are more. If favorable conditions are more, many organisms are present. After this neritic zone, you can see here, there is a slope here. Away from this, there is a big zone, you can see. Okay, so this part you can see actually pelagic rim. Pelagic zone means it is present in open sea zone, what I told you. It is the largest zone. Okay, pelagic zone occupies the total volume of ocean. More than 90%, I cannot tell you clearly, but it is the largest zone of the ocean. Okay, so let me discuss now. See, these zones I told you here, many times I told you, photic zone means light penetration zone, you can see here. Up to 200 meters, light penetration is there. So, organisms are more. After 200 meters, if you go deep into the sea, slowly light penetration decreases, and finally if you go very deep, after 3000 meters, there is a perpetual darkness. Here, now you can see. Aphotic zone means you can see no light penetration zone. Okay, that's why after 200 meters, slowly the light becomes dim and finally it disappears. It cannot penetrate that much deep into the ocean or the sea. See here, this is average depth 4000 meters. Okay, after this, you can see this zone. I told you abyssal zone. During classification of ecosystems, incomplete ecosystem I gave example, sea depth. You remembered or not? Okay, now that abyssal zone, it is almost nearer to sea depth. This is the last zone. Perpetual darkness in this zone. Producers are absent, no light penetration. Temperature becomes 4. This part, floor, what is that called? I told you, bottom zone, benthic zone. Here also, starfish, sea urchin, brittle stars, these are the examples in the benthic zone. Here also the temperature is very less, 3 or 4. Pressure is more in abyssal zone even. Clear for you? So these are the different zones which are present in the ocean or sea. After explaining these, you have to write what I told you. You have to write biotic and abiotic components. Same, producer, consumer, decomposer. You give some examples of organisms which are present in the sea or ocean. Clear? Now like that abiotic components means already we discussed, because we are talking about a photic zone, like that we are talking. Okay. Now ocean or sea ecosystem is completed. Now coming to the terrestrial ecosystems. I told you land is a habitat for terrestrial ecosystems. So what examples can you give exactly for terrestrial ecosystems? Grassland ecosystem, desert ecosystem and forest ecosystem. Here even I will tell you the characteristic features and you have to discuss biotic and abiotic components. Let me tell you grassland ecosystem. What are grasses? These are grassy, windy, partly dry biomes. Here there is one new word. Biomes means life zones. Set of ecosystems having similar characteristic features are called biomes. Please remember, set of ecosystems having similar characteristic features are called biomes. Terrestrial biome, grassland, desert, forest, they have similarities, right? Like the terrestrial biome, aquatic biomes we can say. The principal grasslands include the prairies of Canada. In Canada, we call them as prairies, you learn in school, and even United States of America, pampas of South America, steppes of Europe and velds of Africa. We call it different names. In India, we call as grasslands. Following are the characteristic features. Rainfall, it receives 500 to 900 mm per year. Grasslands, and the grasses are dominant form of plant life. If you talk about grassland ecosystem, which is dominant, here grasses are dominant with varying size from 2.1 meters tall with roots extending down into the soil 1.8 meters. Okay, so their roots 1.8 meters, the roots are large and size 2.1 meters height or tall. That is about tall grass. Now short grass, they grow into the height of only 0.20 meters tall. Short grass, they are very short generally. Okay, but their roots can penetrate 1 meter deep into the soil. Okay, there are two grasses, tall grass and short grass. You have to discuss. These are the types of grasslands. No need to discuss because we are not talking about any grassland or forest or desert ecosystem. We are not talking completely. What is included in the syllabus? That only we can discuss. Okay, so simply you mention types of grasslands. First one, tropical grasslands, temperate grasslands and polar grasslands. Tropical grasslands are known as savannas. You will see in Discovery Channel. These are grassy, windy, semi-dry biomes. Climate never gets very warm and most of the time it doesn't change below freezing. One or two sentences you write. Temperate grasslands, they have cold winters with hot and dry summer. These are located in north of the tropical Cancer and south of the Tropic of the Capricorn. Polar grasslands are known as tundra. You can see tundra region, right? So this tundra means barren or treeless land. It is the coldest and the driest of all the biomes, tundra region. After this, you have to discuss biotic and abiotic components. These are some of the animals of grassland ecosystem. Cheetah, giraffe, African elephant. Okay, these are some examples. Now coming to the desert ecosystem. Driest of all the biomes, that is desert. See, this is present throughout the world. Deserts of the world are mainly located in the particular places like Mexico, Chile, Peru, North Africa, Australia and Asia. These are some examples: Gobi, Thar Desert, Tibet and West Asia. Deserts are characterized by extremely hot days and cold nights. This you will learn in school. The rainfall is less than 25 centimeters per year or it is 200 to 250 mm per year, the rainfall. These are the types of the deserts. You can see the first one is hot and dry desert, second one semi-arid desert, coastal desert, and the last one is cold desert. You may explain or may not explain. Okay, no need. Just you mention the types of the deserts. See, these are the types of the deserts. Hot and dry desert I gave. Okay, coastal desert, cold desert, semi-arid desert, forest ecosystem. The last one of the largest ecosystem, that is forest ecosystem. I told you in unit 1, the term forest came from the word, what is that? That is called forest, Latin word. What is the meaning of forests outside? See, generally these forests are located away from the residential areas. Forests roughly occupy approximately, you write, 40% of the land. In India, the forest roughly 1/10 of the total land area. The rainfall is 2000 to 2500 mm per year. These are the types of the forest. Just mention what are the types of the forest. You can see tropical rainforest, tropical deciduous forest, tropical scrub forest, temperate rainforest, temperate deciduous forest, boreal forest. To explain forest ecosystem, it will take 6 months. But in your syllabus, only forest ecosystem and some characteristic features, biotic and abiotic components you have to learn. These are some of the references which I have taken from the website. Thank you for listening this lecture. In this topic, I covered types of ecosystems. Terrestrial ecosystem, in that I covered forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, desert ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem, in that I covered pond or lake ecosystem, ocean or sea ecosystem. So, I may give you assignment to write types of ecosystems. Thank you.